Hello again everybody and a very warm welcome back to episode 2 of the FSS Boeing 727-200 tutorial series for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Taxi, takeoff, climb to cruise for this episode, so strap in and we'll get stuck straight into it. So welcome back. We are taxiing out of the cargo apron here at Manchester on the north side, and we're heading towards runway 12. Everything is as we left it from the previous episode, so hit like, hit subscribe, share your thoughts, tips, tricks, etc. down in the comments section below. It's worth saying as well, just make sure that you've got your keybinds for your landing gear for any hardware that you might have set to toggle landing gear, because that's the keybind that it uses for the landing gear system in this aeroplane. But we're taxiing away, and if we bring the charts up here, we're using runway 12 again because, as you can see on the left hand side there, the weather is really quite variable and quite choppy at the moment here at Miami. And in real life there's a hurricane, category 1 hurricane, sort of Jacksonville way further up the coast. We've got a crosswind of 13 knots and a headwind of 3 knots for this departure. So we're going to need to... So with that in mind, like the 737, we're going to need to position the aileron into wind a little bit to make sure that we keep those ailerons and the wings therefore balanced and neutral during the takeoff roll and the initial kind of climb out. It's a really low wing, so it's very easy to wing strike this aeroplane. It's also really easy to tail strike the aircraft, hence why there's a tail skid just behind the wing there, under the belly of the aeroplane. So as an additional consideration, when we rotate for the departure, we're going to pull the stick back, and we're going to want to try and maintain about 7 degrees pitch, and we're going to try and achieve that and then hold it and allow the aeroplane to settle into a climb and lift itself off the ground very quickly, because we're going to want to accelerate and manage the energy of the aeroplane. Once we establish a positive rate in the climb, we're going to want to put the gear straight into the up position, and as you can see there are 3 different positions on the right hand side there of the landing gear knob. We've got it in the down position at the moment. We're going to pull it up, retract that landing gear, wait till the lights go out, and then we're going to turn the system off. For a bit of a heads up for the flow after takeoff for today, we're going to initially fly runway heading of 124 degrees before beginning to fly on a track of 102 degrees towards our waypoint of Jamba, which is in the sequence page there, set to automatic 0 to 1. 0 being our current position, which will update as we begin the climb out through to the waypoint of Jamba. So it's not going to be amazingly precise like it would be in an A320 or a 737 with a modern avionics suite and navigational system set, but we're going to try as best as we can anyway. We've got the initial climb set to 5,000 there, and before we approach that, before we achieve 5,000, even though it's going to be really busy for us after departure, we're going to want to keep that going all the way through to our climb, our cruise altitude today of 330. And down here we're going to use the altitude select mode and IAS hold mode to achieve our climb performance. And just as a reminder, there is no auto throttle in this, but there is a toggleable switch. So in the checklist here and the aircraft tab, you can select an auto throttle switch if you wish. However, the kind of position of that from FSS is, in real life, it's not really used except for during cruise. So we're going to replicate that, but we're not actually going to use any auto throttle today, because I want to show you, very similar to the BA146, some techniques to basically help you try and manage the engines in flight. And it's not as difficult as you might think. Initially when we started the video we said we were going to depart 08 left. That's the reason why we're not at the moment. There's also a 5 odd knot sort of tailwind, which has increased now and again through to 8 knot tailwind. So we've changed to runway 12, so we get a very similar level of crosswind, but we have a 3 knot headwind for departure as well. And we're going to cross those runways, and as we do that I'm going to start the before takeoff checks anyway. And the crew manager will therefore put things like the strobe lights on. We can pop them on manually if we wish anyway. And we can pop the transponder onto TARA as well. And we can pop the mode selector to heading. Before takeoff checks are green, so we can hide that. There's that windsock, look at that, spicy. Okay, so we've made it to the threshold of 12. Let's pop the runway turn-off lights on. The landing lights, you can see they are already in the on position. Just double check your transponder code and the mode selector. Have a look at the overhead panel, make sure you're happy with everything. I've just noticed a couple of guards up there, so I need to make sure they're down. And make sure you've got comms ready. So if you're on VATSIM, for example, make sure you've got your departure frequencies set if you're using it, and any additional VORs, NDBs, that sort of thing. We're going to line up and use kind of the full runway length today, because the aeroplane likes a sporty departure. So we need every meter we can get. We're just going to hold her on the brakes, just have a little look at the windsock there, look, so we're going to want to put the aileron into wind a little bit. It doesn't have to be massively into wind, just a few degrees like that will be sufficient, you'll probably find. And initially up to 80 knots you're going to want to put the stick forwards and hold it in that kind of forward position until 80 to 100 knots, and then you release the forward pressure on the nose wheel to give you the rudder authority that you need and take that weight off the nose wheel. So without further ado, brakes off. I'm going to set about 50% N1 first. Engines look good. And takeoff thrust. Power sets. Maintaining that centre line with rudder. And there's that slight aileron deflection there, look. Speeds just come alive. Engines are good. Check. Release that nose wheel forward pressure now, so the stick is neutral in the pitch. Using a fair bit of rudder now to try and keep the aircraft on the centre line. It's a bit of a battle. Move on, rotate. And I seem to have an issue with the keybind there. I'm just going to ignore that for now. We're going to click it, just sorted out that keybind issue. We go gear up, and we're going to bring the nose up. We're going to make sure we're sort of flying on our heading, although the weather's battering us somewhat, and we want now 102. Which might be in line with that highway down below. Gear lever can be clicked once again to the off position, and we're going to roll those wings level through 180 knots, flap 5. Still flying the aeroplane ourselves. We're going to now want to go down here. We're going to go autopilot on, alt select, one click to IAS hold, alt select there, and aux nav. So autopilot engaged. Nav selector aux nav, so the INS flies the aeroplane. Alt select arm for the 5000 and IAS hold, like so. We can now go to vertical speed mode. bring that pitch forwards, and we can continue winding the altitude up to 330. I'm just going to press to rearm that there. You can see the aircraft sequencing now, waypoint 1 to 2, and we're going to now retract all of the flaps and the slats and accelerate to our climb speed, just shy of 250 below 10,000 feet. Runway turn-off lights can go to the off position, taxi lights off, and we can get that crew manager iPhone out and press that top right one after takeoff checks. And then we can hide that once again. Just watching the speed needle there. That looks good. So round about there, I'm going to bring that in line with that bug. We're going to go back to IAS hold through 6,000, continuing to climb. The alert has come on there. That's telling us that we've got the next waypoint imminent. So we're about to reach Gabola, and as a result of that, we're about to sequence, there we go, to the next set of waypoints. And remember, we've initially tuned in 9, haven't we? We're already now looking at waypoint 3 coming up, albeit in 23.5 miles. So you can see how much we're going to have to manage the various elements of the aeroplane here. And we don't need to worry about heading or course anymore. Apologies for the keybind issue there, folks. My Honeycomb Bravo seems to be playing up with this aeroplane at the moment. So if in doubt, just leave your landing gear keybind as it is, and just use your mouse wheels as a scroll up and down to move the landing gear lever, which is pretty much how I'm doing it at the moment. Through 10,000, the landing lights, in fact, have already been switched off by the crew engineer, which is rather handy. We can revert to vertical speed mode. Scroll the wheel down a little bit just to reach it kind of a bit more of a shallower climb. And you can see there that speed bug has released up to about 300 knots now. We're going to want to allow the aeroplane to accelerate through that. Again, we can use that vertical speed mode just to help manage that. Take the edge off the climb a little bit, bring the speed up, and then return back to that climb. And we're looking good. Through transition altitudes, we're going to go to standard pressure, so we're going to scroll the altitude, the altimeter across to 1013, 29902 for the inches of mercury users amongst us. And we'll make sure the standby instrument down at the bottom there also matches as well. And it's always worth having a little look at your position and trying to kind of monitor where you might be in relation to your waypoints. So we know now the next waypoint for us is Clara. That alert has now come on to suggest we're getting close, and we're going to be 2535.8 north and 7942 west. So you can see there those tweaks that I've made, just bringing that speed down a bit. There's a nice little call out, so we want to go to 29902, local to standard. And as we cross our speed bug, we can now go back to IAS mode, and the aircraft will begin to try and achieve that speed that we're at the moment with like a best rate of climb. So we can just monitor the aircraft as we climb out over this beautiful landscape, checking our fuel at our waypoints as we sequence through the various ones, and making sure that when we get to waypoint 6, we're already pre-planning our additional sequencing for the INS. Okay, so as we continue through the climb, we can discuss that next bit of sequencing. And for that, we bring the charts back up once again. You can see there that we've got all the way through from waypoint 1 to 9, which is as far as the carousel allows us. And then we need to start again back at 1. So we're going to get our pen out once more. We're going to go 1, 2, And I would recommend now at this this point selecting waypoint 3 as your top of descent, because it's a really good way of identifying when you need to get that nose down and begin your descent. As a little top tip from me. Sluggo, Aluba, and then we've got St Martin's PJM VOR, which is number 6. And then we can also potentially do number 7 for Princess Juliana International Airport if we wish, as a bit of a backup. Thankfully, the arrival into Princess Juliana for us is quite simple. It's going to be Sluggo 160 degrees, and then we intercept the inbound radial of St Martin PJM 1130, 267 degrees, direct towards Aluba before flying the approach. We're expecting runway 10, and with that we could fly our nav approaches if we want to, if you really want to push it, but realistically you might struggle with that. So, because of this aircraft being the age that it is, we're going to stick with 10, but we're going to configure for the VOR Zulu runway 10. So at Aluba, inbound 096, directly towards the airfield. We should be visual, missed approach point 2 miles to hand fly the touchdown. We are coming up towards our cruising altitude of flight level 330 now, so we can think about the throttle once again. When the aircraft pitches forward to achieve our cruise, level off at cruise altitude, we're going to have to potentially just bring that throttle back ever so slightly to prevent an acceleration through VNE. And if you wanted to, you could have a little look at your pressurisation panel here. The flight manager, the engineer should be sorting this out, but you can see the cabin pressure is still climbing. It's almost at the kind of optimum pressure for the cabin there. Just past Medley, so looking down we're now sequence 4 to 5, progressing nicely, levelling off now, so we bring that throttle back ever so slightly, get it thrown around a little bit there. I'm going to set an EPA around 1.8 to see if that's like quite a nice sort of figure for us. If it will hold along that speed bug. Looks like it is, just above Mach decimal 80 there. Might need a bit more power. So we'll try 1.9. See if that has us settling nicely. As long as it's roughly in that area, I don't mind where it settles, providing it doesn't begin to continue to slowly accelerate and creep towards the VNE needle there. But we should be okay with about 1.9, which is about 88% N1 across all 3 engines there as well. That looks quite good. Bang on Mach decimal 80 there. And stable. Hold is on, so we've got the little green light there showing the altitude has been captured. The alt select is engaged instead of armed, and it's green. And we can just monitor fuel flow, monitor our position, make sure we're not drifting off course. For that we can have a little look at our POS here, which is constantly updating with our current position as we fly along. And we can keep an eye on our speed, making any little adjustments that we might need to make as we go. Let's try 1.95. Okay, so we're reaching BITAC soon, we're going to get the alert thing, but I want to show you how to then begin the fresh set of waypoints. We're only going to waypoint 5 at the moment, so we can't overwrite 4 because the aeroplane knows it's going from 4 to 5. And we can't overwrite anything after 5 without getting in the way of all of this. So, to change on the charts, waypoint 1, which was Jamba on the Clara 2 departure, to our new waypoint 1 of Beano, all we need to do is make sure that we've got that rotary dial on the INS set to waypoint. We've moved the carousel dial all the way to carousel number 1, showing us there that we're reaching the next waypoint, which is Aruba very soon. Hence the alert. And with 1 selected and waypoint, the active mode, we can now overwrite it. So we're going to go N 18456, insert west 066372, insert, and we can actually also do number 2 while we're at it, which is jets. Again, that's north 18404, insert west 065220, insert. We can squeeze number 3 in, which is our top of descent marker. As we cross that, we know we need to be kind of getting our nose down, and that is roundabout north 18344, west 064456, insert. We can't go any further than that, but obviously as we progress through the flight, we can replace the final 4 waypoints. And I would probably suggest at Yaya, number 9, here, is where you do sluggo onwards down to the Princess Juliana arrival there. If at any point you need to do a direct to, so for example we're flying to waypoint 6 now, which on the original sequence is Haggett, but ATC come online and say, right, go direct Colto, what we can do is go waypoint change from 5 to 6, and we can do 0, which is our current location, to 7, which is Colto, and we can insert, and that is the same as doing a direct to, basically. And it's done us a bit of a favour because we've now also given ourselves a whole load of additional slots to overwrite the next load of waypoints. And there you have it. Takeoff, climb through to cruise in the FSS 727-200 freighter for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Join us for the next episode where we discuss descent, following on from this episode all the way through to the VOR and hand-flown approach and landing. Hope you're enjoying the series so far. Let us know how you get on. Again, apologies for that keybind issue. It keeps cropping up, it seems, for me, and I can't quite get it set up perfectly. But again, that scroll wheel tip is something I wanted to share, so I suppose it had a benefit of some sort regardless. See you for the next episode, or perhaps even for a live stream in the near future. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.